Oliver, that's really kind, but I'll be walking to the tube with Claire again. I'll message when I'm safely home. Everyone stay safe. Chat soon. Kiss. Oi, Nat! Claire shouts from the other side of the office, where she's holding open the door. Come on! Some of us want to go home. Natalie does her best to pay attention to what Claire's saying as they walk from the Barclays building to Canary Wharf Underground Station. A nip to the September air that makes her wish she brought a coat. But the most she can manage by way of conversation is the occasional grunt or, uh-huh. She's scanning the faces of every man she sees. The men in suits who overtake her, their expensive shoes clacking against the pavement, the workers in neon jackets, and the commuters wearing trainers and carrying backpacks. It would be almost impossible for Jamie to track her down here. She's changed jobs twice since he was sent to prison. Her Facebook account is under a different name, her Instagram is private, and she doesn't go anywhere near TikTok or Twitter. But almost impossible doesn't reassure her. She still feels sick with fear. See you tomorrow then, yeah? Claire's voice draws her gaze away from the man in the black coat, who's just sprinted past them in the direction of the Elizabeth line. They're inside the station, standing a couple of feet from the escalator, in the no-man's land between the Elizabeth line and the Jubilee line. Claire shifts her weight and adjusts the shoulder strap of her bag. Natalie smiles uncertainly. They haven't reached the hugging goodbye stage of friendship yet, and there's an awkward beat before Claire raises her hand and says, See you tomorrow then. Have a good night. Natalie raises her hand too and heads towards the Elizabeth line. She takes 2 steps onto the platform and scans the throng of commuters. She moves towards the left where it's busier, weaving her way through the tired, warm bodies. Musty air wraps itself around her as a train rumbles closer. The crowd contracts as the train pulls up to the platform, then surges as the doors open. Natalie moves with them. But something makes her falter. An invisible thread yanks her gaze towards the square archway she walked through minutes before. She turns her head. She's imagined this moment for 3 years. She's always thought she'd scream, that she'd run. Instead, she draws thick, fusty air deep into her lungs as fear snatches her out of her body. She is floating, suspended inches above the solid grey platform. Hollowed out, helium-filled, weightless. Run! Screams the voice in her head, but she cannot wrench her gaze away. Run! Run! Beep, 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 beep. The frantic trill of the train doors, heralding their closure, pulls her back onto the platform, and she trembles back into herself, heart pounding, skin prickling, breath choked in her throat. Just 1 step into the train will separate her from Jamie. He's barely moved from the archway, but the carriage is full. Commuters are packed together, elbows into sides, shoulders touching shoulders, chins craned upward. There's no space left. Jamie is watching her, waiting for her to make her next move. Beep, 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 beep. Natalie leaps, throwing herself against the wall of bodies as the doors close around her. She pushes herself into the non-existent space between a man in a suit and a young woman with pink streaks in her hair. Sorry, she breathes as the doors seal everyone inside. She wriggles for space, her cheek pressed against the window as the train pulls away. She seeks out the archway as the train moves past it. Jamie is gone. By the time the train pulls into Tottenham Court Road, Natalie has convinced herself that Jamie didn't make it on. She was less than a foot away from her carriage and had struggled to board. Even if the carriage nearest him hadn't been packed like hers, there's no way he could have made it there before the train left, even at a sprint. If he had, he'd have squeezed his way through the standing passengers and moved through the carriages. He'd be beside her now, an arm locked around her shoulders, his hot breath whispering warning words into her ear. For the last 5 minutes, she hasn't taken her eyes off the connecting door. As the train grinds to a stop and the doors open, a new thought hits her. What if he made it onto the train, but stayed in his seat because he didn't want to risk a seat?